Oh, guess what day it is? That's right, it's Thursday. It's Thursday, February 13th, 2020, and we're going to point you to last week just in case you missed it. But otherwise, we're going to take you right into space news. SpaceX has hired former NASA human spaceflight chief, Bill Gerstenmaier. Now, Gerst, as he's called affectionately in the business, served at NASA from 2006 to 2019, where he was in charge of human spaceflight. He's going to be part of SpaceX's human reliability team, or reliability, whatever. I'm not really sure what title it's going to be yet. But basically, he's going to be in charge of astronaut safety, making sure that all the astronauts that are going to be using the Crew Dragon will get up to the ISS safely, and that manned missions to Moon and possibly even Mars will be able to be on their way. Again, they're talking about going to the Moon by 2024. They're talking about experimenting and trying to make sure that rockets or whatever might be going to Mars as early as 2023, with manned flights sometime after that. We don't know. In other space news, the European Space Agency has launched their Solar Orbiter mission. Now, it launched a couple days ago from the Cape, but don't get too excited too quickly. This is going to be until about 2025 or 2026 until we start seeing pictures of the sun's polar regions. It's going to take a while to get out there. It's going to be in a slow circular orbit until it gets to a position it can do that. It's been delayed for about a decade now, mainly because they were trying to make sure the components on board could take reliable, accurate pictures and still be protected from the heat. Even though we're in deep space, we're going to the sun, so there's a lot of heat involved, a lot of radiation and stuff like that. And the goal was to be able to protect all the components inside while still being able to do experiments. In tech news, Samsung had its Galaxy event the other day. And on top of showing the earbuds, which are a new product or an upgraded product they've got, they're going to retail for about $149. They presented a flip phone called the Z Flip. This is going to have a couple of different modes. You'll be able to open it up like a normal 6.7-inch telephone. It will have a split screen mode where if you fold it, in notebook mode, you can sit it on the desk and say take selfies, or have a video call where your actual call is on the top part of it and the controls are on the bottom part, or the keyboard where the keyboard normally would be on a notebook. Or you can have it completely closed and do things like take selfies or get notifications on the outside small mini screen. This is going to retail for about $1,400 from Samsung. It's going to be available, I believe, tomorrow is when it starts. And they're using a foldable glass, which we'll see how that compares to Motorola's or their other foldable products, but we'll see what happens. But anyway, that's going to be available as early as tomorrow. The other product was the Samsung S20. The S20 is going to come in 3 flavors. They are going to be more expensive as you go and have better camera, better battery life, and all that stuff. The S20, the S20 Plus, and the S20 Ultra will be available. I believe it's the beginning of March or the beginning of April. It's pretty soon here. They're not too far away. The base model is going to cost you about $1,000. The Plus model will cost you about $1,200, and the Ultra model will cost you about $1,400. Now, these are supposed to have 120 hertz refreshing screens, and the upper models are supposed to be able to take 8K video with 100 times zoom, 10 times regular zoom, 10 times digital zoom. Multiply those together, you get 100 times zoom. So it looks pretty impressive. It sounds pretty impressive. We'll have to see how impressive it is when it actually does come out. In other tech news, the Sprint T-Mobile, I guess you could say trial for their merger rights, or their right to merger, ended last month. And now Judge Marrero has come back and said, okay, you got my blessing, and it's based on T-Mobile's actions over the past decade. Judge Victor Marrero, federal court judge, has ruled that T-Mobile's actions over the past decade of being the Un-carrier and bringing Metro PCS into the fold and the way their actions are, has proven that they can handle mergers before without affecting competition and even spurring on competition and making prices lower for the consumer. So based on that, he has decided that the Sprint T-Mobile merger is a go, and he's given it his complete and total blessing. The two companies are going to merge. It looks like the front office will be actually in charge. It will become the new T-Mobile, and it's supposed to not only keep most of the jobs from both companies, but supposed to add quite a few jobs as well. It's also going to add spectrum to T-Mobile, so they will be able to roll out 5G on the 2.5 gigahertz as well as the 600 megahertz they already have. So in addition to those 200 million people already being served, they should reach about 330 to 340 million people, and we'll see how quickly that becomes. They're talking about this happening as early as the 1st of April. And John Laguerre, the president of T-Mobile, is actually stepping down. He's taking on another role sometime in April. So May 1st, they'll have somebody else that's in charge. But I believe the gentleman taking control is actually the vice president right now. So they're not losing anything in leadership. But Dish Network will be your 4th carrier, and Sprint and T-Mobile may now move about the cabin. In gaming news, Adam Sussman has left Nike's building. Now, you might figure, why is that important and why is that in gaming? Because he's going to Epic Games. And you're thinking, okay, why is a Nike exec going to Epic Games? Well, that's because that's not the only job he's ever held. He's also been the vice president over at Blizzard. So while he was doing that, obviously he was in charge of some pretty big games. And now going over to Epic, among other things, he's going to be in charge of games like Fortnite. Epic, if you don't already know, does make the Fortnite. They produce the Fortnite game, and they produce the Unreal Engine, which a lot of games are made on. So congrats to Adam Sussman. Obviously, congrats to Epic, and we'll have to see how this works out. Speaking of Blizzard, Activision Blizzard has pulled all of their games from GeForce Now. This just launched the other day, and already Blizzard has gone back and pulled all their games that will not be available to stream through this service, GeForce Now. You'll still obviously own the games, you'll still be able to play the games, but you won't be able to play them through this. There's no explanation given, no reason given. This is still a fresh and hot story happening as kind of we're talking. It's happened in the past day or so. So as we get more details, of course, we'll share them with you. But just kind of bringing that along because it did come across hot and heavy and really, really quickly. And finally, and you're kidding, right? Washington, along with other states, have laws on the books that prevent you from being in the HOV lane with just, say, one passenger or one driver, or unless you're a motorcycle, or from having, say, a cardboard cutout, a doll, or something like that that represents an additional passenger to try to evade or fake out law enforcement. Well, Trooper Rick Johnson the other day tweeted out a photo of a different kind of violator. Not only was the gentleman speeding, which is illegal, but the gentleman had a green stuffed dinosaur as his passenger. That in itself, yes, is illegal, and it goes along the same rules as having a doll or a fake person or a cutout or something like that, which incurs another hefty fine. The amazing thing, or I should say the funny thing about this, is that he also, when he tweeted this picture out, did it with the hashtag does not count. So remember, folks, if you're traveling through Washington, don't speed in the HOV and don't take a green dinosaur with you. So that's all I got for this week, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please thumbs up. The algorithm, the YouTube algorithm really likes thumbs up. If you didn't like it, you can thumbs down if you have to. Leave me any kind of comments. You're welcome to share and subscribe. But I've got a couple other things going on. Something like this. This one showed up on my doorstep, and I'm surprised it took me this long to do it. So we're going to make that video soon. But until then, folks, that's all I got.